Hi folks, Puffin here with your Antifa News Briefa for March 26, 2022. I woke up at 11:11 this morning and made a wish, as I always do, for Trump and Putin to be arrested. Now I turned on YouTube and started watching the live speech from President Joe Biden in Warsaw about Putin's invasion of the Ukraine. And it was a great speech. I really enjoyed the speech. President Joe said some very inspiring and good things, some true things, and the truth is inspiring. Like any inspiring speech, it's intended to inspire actions. The words and the ideals are ahead of the actions it wants to inspire. The thing is, it's so true, it means there's some things that President Joe Biden himself has to do. For me, that includes arresting Trump. And so, as many great lines and great points were in the speech, it seemed like to me, to complete the thought, to follow through with what he's saying, arresting Trump is what President Joe has got to do. So, to make the point, I wrote down some notes, and like the real news journalist that I am, I was going to read some things to you. So, the first thing that President Joe said was every generation has had to defeat democracy's moral foes. So we're a generation, we have to defeat democracy's moral foe, who is Trump. Trump is Putin's puppet. Joe Biden called him that to his face at a debate and in front of millions of viewers, and he knows it. He's known it for years. So why he isn't acting like it is what makes, as many of these statements are good and great points, makes them point back at President Joe. So why not arrest Trump? The second thing he mentioned was from 1956 and various other time periods when Soviet tanks crushed democratic uprisings. Now, it's not Soviet tanks, but we've had American police crushing democratic uprisings, including the Black Lives Matter movement here in America, recently. Like, we're responsible for that. And the tanks in Ukraine and tanks from the Soviet Union and other countries in the past to crush democratic protests and other forms of protest, or protests over democracy and protests over other things that are all democratic protests, are all part of the same problem. They're all part of fascism. The third thing he said is that the hallmarks of authoritarianism are contempt for the rule of law, which the rule of law sometimes is supposed to make people think of police. But the rule of law means the law, means actually following the law instead of using power to intimidate, which is what unfortunately a lot of our police do in America. But contempt for the rule of law, contempt for democratic freedom, again, Trump. The alarm bells of Trump has contempt for democratic freedom are ringing in my head. And contempt for the truth itself. Yeah, Putin is spreading a lot of lies, just like Trump spread a lot of lies. Like Trump spread all the fertilizer on all his base was from Putin. It was Putin's lies. So it's the same lies. So if you're against the people who are against the truth itself, then you're not just against Putin, you're also against Trump. And we just haven't seen that from Joe Biden yet enough. He said Russia strangled democracy in its homeland and neighboring nations. Now, I don't know what the U.S.-Russia border is. I guess, Sarah Palin can see it from his house. You could say Alaska, the islands up there or something, or the North Pole or something. But Russia's not only crushed democracy in neighboring nations, Russia, Putin, using Facebook, was responsible using fake accounts to elect Trump, to elect Bolsonaro, to elect Modi. And these are the three countries that had the worst Trump virus because they were all spreading Putin's lies about the virus to make it a genocide because they're all Putin's puppets. So he strangled democracy, or still trying to strangle democracy here as well. And we need to get him off our necks. Number 5, Trump and Putin, we need to get him off our necks. They're going to cross the border. They're going to attack. He's telling them, reminding them how people didn't believe when they said, yeah, Putin's going to attack. Putin's going to cross the border. We were telling you they were going to storm the White House or storm the Capitol. We're still telling you they're trying to take over the country. You don't believe us when we're telling you, Joe Biden, that Trump is trying to attack. Trump is trying to invade. Trump is going to invade. Trump is going to attack. So you have to treat that like the clear and present threat to our democracy that it is, and arrest the foreign and domestic traitor Putin's USA invader, Trump, and the Trump-Putiners. The 5th point, they're going to cross the border. The 6th point, he has an appetite for power and control. You might as well go full GNR on it, Guns N' Roses, saying appetite for destruction. He's got an appetite for all these things, and you need to give him a different diet. 7, he mentions the 140 oligarchs they've sanctioned, the 400 officials they've sanctioned, the 400 companies that have left Russia, pulled out of Russia. That Russia was the 11th strongest economy. It's going to be below the 20th soon. That the ruble is rubble. The ruble is rubble was one of his best lines, I guess. The ruble is rubble, 200 rubles to $1 now, and falling. So whatever Russia's been paying Tulsi Gabbard, and whatever Russia's been paying Lauren Boebert, and whatever Russia's been paying Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, and whatever Russia's been paying Trump, it's not going to be worth anything soon, is the point. There won't be any more of it coming because their money's not worth anything soon. But I hear about 400 companies, including McDonald's, oil companies, McDonald's, pulling out of Russia. But Trump can still walk into a McDonald's and get a Big Mac. You know that's happening or he'd be dead. So here's the thing. I'm not saying that McDonald's should cut off all Russians in America. I'm not being nationalistic or racist or anything. That's stupid. But you should cut off Trump. You shouldn't let Trump get a Big Mac. If you're going to stop doing business in Russia, you should stop doing, to seize yachts and mansions and stuff of oligarchs. Seize Trump's yachts and mansions, if any. Seize his stuff because he's a Russian agent, a Russian oligarch. Yeah, the Trump-Putin Republicans in Congress managed to block the investigation of it, but they didn't stop the facts or the truth that that's, yes, what it is. Russiagate is real. It's not a lie. It's not a joke. He's a traitor. And people will find that out, but we'll get to that point soon. I have to continue this video later. Not enough to speak enabling words of democracy and freedom. This is out of Joe Biden's mouth. It's not enough to speak the ennobling words of democracy and freedom. All of us must do the work. It's like Merrick Garland was saying the other day, it's all of our jobs. It's not my job to arrest Trump. It's all of our. Are you asking for a posse? Are you asking people to hashtag grab them by the posse? I'm not saying people should actually grab them by the posse, but you should at least hashtag grab them by the posse. And people eventually will. Any 5, 10 good Americans who get sick of waiting for the slow wheels of justice to stop traitor Trump will do it themselves. So Trump's safer in jail. You're doing him a favor by arresting him so other people don't decide how it should be done. Like, I'm just trying to tell you the future in a nice and positive way. All of us do our part. He mentioned the picnics, and hands across Europe and stuff like that. Nonviolent protests, which filled in with my idea of pillow revolution, hashtag pillow revolution. 10. Putin didn't do it in our own country. He kind of slipped up this at our own country, his own country, the Kremlin. They're jailing protesters. We're jailing protesters here in America. We have some of the same problem is all I'm trying to say. Not that it's not worse in Russia what they're doing, and we should criticize them, but we need to be able to criticize them from a position of moral rectitude instead of doing the same types of things here. 11, refuse to believe you welcome the killings. That was a great line where he says, I refuse to the Russian people, I refuse to believe you welcome the killings of grandparents and grandkids. And it's true. You should say that to everybody. That whatever other lies they believe, the outcome of those lies, the killing of civilians, should not be tolerated or accepted. So you should also look into what he's lying to you about. The 12th point. The power of many is greater than any one dictator. Again, hashtag grab 'em by the posse. Are you inviting us to do that? Because you're saying the power of many is greater than any one person's lust for power. And there's many more of us than there are of Trump and Putin, or any of the Trump-Putineers. There's like 40,000 of them. Don't let the numbers and the social media lies fool you. 13th point. Putin's taking Russia to the 19th century. War not worthy. That's the Garth point. War not worthy. War not worthy. The war is not worthy of the Russian people. War is not actually worthy of humanity. So that's a good larger point. We all need to move as quickly as possible to clean and reassemble Europe or something. We need to do that for democracy everywhere. 15th point, I think the final point, when he mentions this man cannot remain in power. He stopped talking to the Russian people at that point. He's talking back to the world audience, and he just says at the very end of the speech, this man cannot remain in power. Again, that goes for Putin, but everything he says that goes for Putin goes for Trump. So even though Trump is not in power right now, all of his changes to our power need to be rooted out, and Trump needs to be rooted out of running around free in power of, picking candidates and telling people what to do and trying to overthrow our country just like Putin is trying to overthrow Ukraine. So let's arrest Putin's USA invader Trump. Thank you for watching and sharing. Love you forever. See you soon. And thank you, President Joe.